The alarm clock buzzed at 5 a.m., and Commander Abigail Mason groaned as she rolled out of bed. Another day at Orbital Repair Station 47 was about to begin. She rubbed her eyes and looked out her small window at the stunning view of Jupiter's swirling clouds. After 8 years running this station, the view still took her breath away. "Computer station status," she said, pulling on her blue uniform with the station's patch, a wrench crossed with an alien tool over a star field. "Current docking, 11 alien vessels. Repair bays at 92% capacity. Crew complement, 347 humans, 23 alien consultants," the computer replied in a flat voice. Abigail nodded to herself. Another busy day. She grabbed a cup of coffee from her small kitchen unit and headed for the command center. The hallways of Station 47 were already buzzing with activity. Repair crews carrying toolkits hurried past her, nodding respectfully. A group of tall, blue-skinned Zentari walked by, their 4 eyes blinking in different patterns as they discussed something in their clicking language. "Morning, Commander," called Frank Davis, the night shift supervisor. His beard had more gray than when he'd first joined the station 5 years ago. "The Draconian battleship arrived at SO 200. First time we've had one at the station." Abigail nearly spilled her coffee. "A Draconian battleship? Here?" The Draconians were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Proud, lizard-like beings with technology that was centuries beyond human understanding. They rarely interacted with younger species like humans, considering them barely worth notice. "Yep. And they specifically asked for us by name," Frank said with a grin. "Said they heard we could fix anything." The command center was a large circular room with screens showing every repair bay and the space around the station. Station 47 looked like a giant wheel, with repair bays sticking out like spokes. The massive ring-shaped station orbited Europa, positioned at the edge of human territory, where it served as a gateway to the wider galactic community. Alan Wright, her communications officer, looked up from his console. "Commander, the Draconian captain is requesting to speak with you." Abigail straightened her uniform and nodded. "Put him through to my office." In her small office, she sat at her desk and pressed a button. The screen on the wall lit up to show you a reptilian face with gleaming copper-colored scales. Yellow eyes with vertical pupils studied her coldly. "Commander Mason," the Draconian said, his voice deep and slightly hissing. "I am Captain Zasek of the Imperial vessel Sunfire. Your reputation has spread far. We have a problem with our quantum phase inverters that our engineers cannot solve." Abigail kept her face neutral despite her surprise. A Draconian admitting they couldn't fix something. This was unheard of. "Captain Zasek, we're honored to have your vessel at our station. Gary Carter is our lead technician for advanced propulsion systems. He'll have your inverters functioning within 12 hours. The Draconian's inner eyelid flickered in what Abigail recognized as surprise. 12 hours? Our own engineers estimated 3 days, minimum. Gary has a knack for understanding how things work, Abigail said with a small smile. All my technicians do, it's why we're in business. After the call ended, Abigail decided to make her morning rounds through the station. She needed to see this Draconian ship for herself. Repair Bay 7 was their largest, and even so, the Draconian battleship barely fit. It was beautiful in a dangerous way, sleek, copper-colored metal with strange patterns that seemed to shift when you weren't looking directly at them. At least 5 times larger than the biggest human vessel, it made their repair bay look tiny. Gary Carter was already there with his team, setting up equipment near an open panel on the ship's hull. At 45, Gary had been fixing things since he could walk. His father had been a mechanic and his grandfather before that. His hands were always slightly stained with grease despite how often he washed them. "Morning, Commander," Gary called, waving a strange tool that definitely wasn't standard human equipment. "Come to see the big lizard ship? How's it looking?" she asked, walking over to him. Gary grinned, wiping his hands on a rag. "Their phase inverters are shot because they're using outdated cooling systems. We can retrofit them with our ceramic nano insulators and they'll run 30% more efficiently than new. They'll pay extra for that. already cleared it with their engineer. The guy seemed shocked we even understood how the system works, let alone could improve it. This was nothing new. For some reason, humans had a knack for understanding alien technology that, by all rights, should have been incomprehensible to them. It was why Station 47 had become so popular with alien ships over the last few years. Abigail continued her rounds. In Bay 4, Linda Powell was working on a Zentari cruiser's crystalline engine. Linda was humming to herself as she carefully rerouted power conduits that operated on principles most human scientists still couldn't explain. Her small hands moved with incredible precision, adjusting crystal formations that glowed with blue energy. "How's the Zentari engine coming along?" Abigail asked. Linda didn't look up, too focused on her work. "Found a crack in their main power crystal. They said it wasn't repairable, would need full replacement. I'm fusing it now with our new technique." The Zentari captain stood nearby, all four of his eyes wide as he watched Linda work. "Impossible," he muttered. "Simply impossible." By lunchtime, Abigail was hungry and decided to grab food at the station's bar, the Cosmic Spanner. The bar had become a popular hangout for both the station's crew and visiting alien guests. The walls were decorated with parts from various alien and human ships, and large windows provided a stunning view of Jupiter. When she walked in, she noticed a group of aliens gathered around a table, watching one of the screens that showed a feed from Repair Bay 7, where Gary and his team were working on the Draconian ship. A Valerian scientist waved her over. Valerians were known for their intelligence and their skin that changed colors with their emotions. Right now, this one was a curious purple color. "Commander, please join us," the Valerian said. "We were just discussing the peculiar talent your species has for mechanical intuition." "Oh?" Abigail sat down and ordered a sandwich from the server. "Indeed," rumbled a Zentari captain, his four eyes blinking in sequence. "My species developed interstellar travel 5,000 years before. Humans discovered electricity. Yet your technician just found a flaw in our engine design that our engineers missed for centuries." "Linda's always been good with engines," Abigail said with pride. The Valerian's skin shifted to a thoughtful blue shade. "But how do you explain this species-wide talent? Humans have only been in space for 200 years, yet you repair technology from civilizations that have been spacefaring for millennia. It defies logical progression." Abigail took a bite of her sandwich while she thought about this. Outside the viewport, Europa gleamed like a pearl against the massive backdrop of Jupiter's swirling storms. Humanity had fought and struggled to reach the stars, adapting and improvising every step of the way. "Maybe," she said finally, "it's because we had to work harder to get here. When every piece of technology represents decades of struggle and ingenuity, you develop a deep understanding of how things work at a fundamental level." The aliens exchanged glances, and Abigail couldn't help but wonder what they saw when they looked at humans. These newcomers who fixed what supposedly couldn't be fixed. As she finished her lunch, Alan's voice came over her communicator. "Commander, we've got 2 more alien ships requesting emergency repairs, a Pellerin freighter with engine trouble and a Caxtonian royal yacht. That's a first." Abigail smiled. Word was spreading faster than she'd expected. "Tell them we'll fit them in. And Alan, better start interviewing for more technicians. I think we're going to need them." 6 months after the Draconian battleship's successful repair, Orbital Repair Station 47 was busier than ever. Abigail stared at the lines of alien ships waiting near the station. Every repair bay was full, and more vessels arrived each day. "We've got a problem," said Alan, bringing her a cup of coffee in the command center. He pointed to his screen. "That's our waiting list now. 3 weeks long." Abigail looked at the list and whistled. Over 50 alien ships were waiting for their turn. "We're turning away more ships than we're accepting," Alan continued. "And guess what? The Galactic Council sent a message this morning. They want to officially call us a neutral repair zone. That means even more traffic." Abigail sipped her coffee. "We need to expand. Again." The station had already doubled in size over the past 2 years. They had added 12 new repair bays, hired 70 more technicians, and built a whole new section for crew quarters. But it wasn't enough. The expansion plans are ready, Alan said, but it'll take at least 8 months to build. Approve them, and tell the construction teams to work faster, Abigail said. She rubbed her tired eyes. Being popular was hard work. Knock at her door made her look up. Sam Nichols stood there. At 62, Sam was the station's chief engineer and the oldest person on the crew. His face looked worried. "Commander, you need to come see this. Now." Something in his voice made Abigail follow him without questions. They walked quickly through the busy hallways to Repair Bay 12, one of their newest and most secure bays. Inside, Abigail saw a group of aliens she didn't recognize. They were tall and thin with forearms and silvery skin that seemed to glow slightly. They stood in a half circle around a small ship. Or at least Abigail thought it was a ship. It didn't look like any vessel she had ever seen. It was only about the size of a small car, oval-shaped, and made of a dark metal that seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. "What am I looking at, Sam?" she asked quietly. "Those are meridians," Sam said, nodding toward the silver beings. "Very old species, very secretive, rarely leave their home systems." "And that thing?" Sam lowered his voice. "That, Commander, is supposedly a piece of precursor technology." Abigail felt her heart beat faster. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the precursors. They were a mysterious species that had disappeared about 50,000 years ago. No one knew what happened to them, but they had left behind artifacts and ruins across the galaxy. Their technology was so advanced that even the oldest alien races couldn't figure out how most of it worked. "Are you serious?" she whispered. "The Meridians found it floating in deep space," Sam explained. "They've been studying it for over 300 years but couldn't activate it or figure out what it does. Somehow they got the idea we might be able to help. And can we?" Sam scratched his gray beard. "Honestly, I think we can. Rebecca Johnson has been looking at it for a few hours now, and she says it works sort of like our quantum engines, just way more advanced." Across the bay, Rebecca was working on a tablet computer. She was in her early 30s with short black hair and the focused look she always got when solving a hard problem. She had joined the station only a year ago, but she was already one of their best troubleshooters. Rebecca kept touching the strange device and making notes. "If we can activate a precursor artifact," Abigail started to say. "It'll change everything," Sam finished her thought. "Not just for us, but for the whole galaxy. Every major species has been hunting for working precursor tech for thousands of years." Abigail thought about what this meant. If humans could understand technology that had confused the oldest races in the galaxy for millennia, what did that say about humanity? That afternoon, Abigail found herself in a meeting room with representatives from 5 different alien species. They all watched on screens as Rebecca and her team worked on the precursor device. One of the Meridians spoke in a musical voice that the translator converted to English. "Your technicians handle the artifact so casually," it said. "Our scientists treat such objects as sacred relics." "Maybe that's part of the problem," Rebecca suggested, looking up from her work. "We see it as a puzzle to solve, not something to worship." "Or perhaps," said a Zentari with deep blue crystals growing from its shoulders, "it is because humans are descendants of the precursors themselves." The room went quiet. Abigail had heard this theory before, that humans were somehow related to the mysterious vanished race. Most human scientists laughed at the idea, but many aliens seemed to believe it. "We're just good with our hands," Abigail said carefully. "When you have to struggle and invent to reach the stars, you learn a lot about how things work." 3 days later, Rebecca called Abigail down to the bay again. The precursor device was now connected to several human computers. Lights flickered on its dark surface. "We did it," Rebecca said, her face glowing with excitement. "We activated it. Want to see what it does?" Sam and the Meridian delegation gathered around as Rebecca pressed a button on her tablet. The dark oval hummed softly, and suddenly the air above it filled with light. "It's a star map," Rebecca explained as tiny points of light formed a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. "But watch this." She touched another control, and the map began to change. Stars moved, slowly shifting positions. It's showing stellar drift, Rebecca said. This thing is calculating and showing how the galaxy looked at different times in history, going back at least 100,000 years. One of the meridians made a sound like bells tinkling. In 3 centuries, we never discovered this function. How? Did you figure it out? Another asked. Rebecca shrugged. The control interface reminded me of an old video game controller. I just tried different combinations until something happened. Later that night, Abigail couldn't sleep. She walked to the observation deck, a large room with huge windows facing Jupiter. The giant planet filled the view, its storms and bands of clouds visible even without a telescope. Sam found her there, staring at the planet. He handed her a cup of hot chocolate. Quite a day, he said. Quite a week, she corrected. What do you think about that precursor device? Could the Zentari be right? Could we be related to the precursors somehow? Sam sipped his drink. I don't know, but I'll tell you what I think. I think humanity has always been good at figuring out how things work. It's in our nature to take things apart and put them back together. Maybe the precursors were the same way. Abigail watched as a small moon passed in front of Jupiter's surface. Word about this will spread, she said. We thought we were busy before? Just wait. The universe is full of broken things waiting to be fixed, Sam said with a smile. Good. Thing humans are around to fix them. A week later, Alan brought more news. We've got new requests coming in from all over the galaxy, and not just for repairs now. Species we've never even met are sending us artifacts and devices they can't figure out. Abigail looked at the latest reports. Station 47's waiting list was now 2 months long. Where are we going to put all this stuff? About that, Alan said with a nervous look. The Galactic Council called again. They're not just designating us as a neutral repair zone anymore. They want to make Station 47 the official center for precursor research. They what? And they're offering to fund a massive expansion, not just more repair bays, but research facilities, housing for alien scientists, the works. Abigail sat back in her chair, stunned. From a simple repair station to the galaxy's center for the most advanced technology research? All in just a few years. Tell them yes, she said finally. But we stay in charge. This is still a human station. As she looked out her office window at the line of alien ships, Abigail wondered what the future would bring. If humans really did have some special connection to the precursors, what else might they discover? And how would it change humanity's place in the galaxy? Whatever happened, one thing was certain. The universe was full of broken things, and humans were very good at fixing them. The emergency alarm woke Abigail at 3:27 a.m. She jumped out of bed and grabbed her uniform before the computer could finish announcing, Commander to the command center. Priority 1 alert. 5 minutes later, she rushed into the command center where Alan was already working at his station. His face looked worried in the red emergency lights. What's happening? She asked. We got a distress call from a Thalassian science ship, Alan said, pointing to a blinking dot on the main screen. They're at the edge of our solar system. Abigail frowned. The Thalassians were an aquatic alien species that rarely came to human space. They lived underwater on their homeworld and used advanced biotechnology. Their ships were partly grown rather than built. What are they doing so far from home? She asked. Scientific survey, they said. But that's not important right now. Alan continued. Their ship is dying. Literally dying. Their organic hull is decomposing. Dying? How? Unknown. But their life support is failing. They've got about 20 hours before the ship breaks apart. Abigail did a quick calculation in her head. How long before they reach us? At their current speed? 16 hours. They won't make it. Abigail made her decision immediately. Prep the rapid response vessel. I'm taking a team out to them. Sam, Nichols, who had just arrived, looked surprised. You're going personally? This is a first contact with the Thalassians, and if their biotechnology is failing, we might need to think outside the box. I want our best people on this. Within an hour, Abigail was aboard the RRV Swift Solution with 3 of her top specialists. Rebecca Johnson for her brilliant problem-solving skills, Peter Alvarez, who was their best mechanical engineer, and Olivia Nelson, who specialized in alien biology. The swift solution was humanity's newest achievement, a repair vessel capable of matching speed with any ship in distress and creating a sealed repair environment between the ships. It looked like a small, sleek silver bullet with repair arms extending from its sides. Setting course for the Thalassian vessel, Peter said from the pilot's seat. Maximum speed will reach them in 7 hours. When they finally saw the Thalassian ship through their viewports, Abigail was shocked. The ship was beautiful, or had been. It looked like a giant coral structure, with organic curves and patterns that no human would design. Parts of it glowed, with soft blue and green lights, but large sections were turning gray and crumbling away. "That doesn't look good," Olivia said, studying the ship through specialized sensors. "It's like watching something rot in fast motion. Can we dock with it?" Abigail asked. Peter studied his controls. "Their docking systems are biological, not mechanical. But I think I can create a seal with our universal adapter." After a tense half-hour of careful maneuvering, they connected to the Thalassian ship. The inner airlock door opened to reveal a strange sight. The corridor beyond was filled with water, held back only by a shimmering force field. A large Thalassian floated on the other side. It looked somewhat like an earth octopus, but with 10 tentacles and shimmering blue-green skin. It wore no clothes but had several devices attached to its body. "Greetings, humans," came a mechanical voice from a translation device. "I am Captain Moral Teth of the research vessel Living Seeker. We thank you for your swift response." "I'm Commander Abigail Mason of Orbital Repair Station 47, Abigail replied. "We're here to help. Can you tell us what happened to your ship?" The Thalassian's tentacles moved in what might have been a gesture of distress. "We encountered an automated defense system in the Oort cloud, the edge of your solar system. It scanned our vessel, then launched tiny machines that are destroying our ship's living systems." Rebecca was already scanning the damaged hull with a handheld device. "They're nanophages," she announced. "Microscopic machines programmed to break down specific biological structures. Can you stop them?" the Thalassian captain asked. Hope, evident even through the translator. Rebecca looked at Peter, who was examining where the ship's biological systems connected to mechanical components. He nodded slightly. "We think so. It's similar to how medical nanites work in human medicine, just reversed. We need to reprogram them." For the next 10 hours, the human team worked non-stop. They wore special suits to move through the water-filled Thalassian ship. Olivia took samples of healthy hull tissue to understand its structure. Peter and Rebecca developed a counter-agent for the nanophages. Abigail coordinated with the Thalassian crew, helping them maintain critical systems. The solution, when they found it, was typically human. They didn't just neutralize the nanophages, they reprogrammed them to repair the damage they had caused. "It's working," Peter announced as sections of the hull began to regain their healthy blue-green color. "The nanophages are now rebuilding the neural pathways according to the healthy samples we provided." The Thalassian captain's tentacles rippled in a complex pattern that their suit's translators identified as their equivalent of relief. "You saved not just our lives, but our ship, which to us is a living being, a companion we have raised from a seedling." "We're just doing our job," Abigail said. As they prepared to return to Station 47, with the Thalassian ship now able to make the journey safely, the alien captain approached Abigail privately. "Commander Mason, there is something important you should know," the translator conveyed. "The defense system we encountered had specific markings on it. Our database identifies them as precursor symbols." Abigail felt her heart beat faster. "You're certain?" "Without doubt. But something more concerning. It specifically targeted our biotechnology while ignoring our conventional mechanical systems. As if it was programmed to recognize certain types of technology," Abigail realized. "Not human technology," the captain corrected. "The defense system scanned your vessel as well, but took no action against it. This selectivity is troubling." On the journey back to Station 47, Abigail couldn't stop thinking about what the Thalassian had said. If precursor defense systems were becoming active after sleeping for thousands of years, and if they somehow recognized human technology as friendly, could there really be a connection between humans and the precursors? When they arrived back at the station, they found it buzzing with excitement. Sam met them at the airlock, his face animated. "While you were gone, Rebecca's team made another breakthrough with the precursor artifact," he said. "You need to see this." In the secure lab where they kept the artifact, Rebecca's assistant, Ben Walsh, showed them what they'd found. The star map now displayed something new. A strand of complex molecules rotating slowly in the projection. "It's DNA," Ben explained.
Specifically, it's a DNA sequence embedded in the device's recognition system. When we compared it to known species in our database, he tapped a command, and a second DNA strand appeared next to the first.
"They were almost identical. This is human DNA," Ben said quietly. "There's a 97% match." Abigail stared at the display, her mind racing. This wasn't just a theory anymore. This was evidence. Somehow, humans and precursors shared nearly identical genetic code. "Who else knows about this?" she asked. "Just our immediate team," Sam replied. "But Abigail, we've got another problem." 3 more ships reported attacks from similar defense systems in other sectors. All of them had biological technology components. None of the human ships were targeted. Abigail looked at the 2 DNA strands, slowly rotating in the hologram. After thousands of years, something was waking up in the galaxy. Something that recognized humans as friendlies and attacked other technologies. "We need to talk to the Galactic Council," she said finally. This just got a lot bigger than repairing ships. As news spread about the attacks and the DNA discovery, alien vessels continued to arrive at Station 47 in even greater numbers. But now they came not just for repairs, but for answers about what was happening, and humanity's connection to the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever known. 2 months after the DNA discovery, Orbital Repair Station 47 had changed completely. The station was now 3 times its original size, with new sections built specifically for research. Alien ships still came for repairs, but now scientists from across the galaxy arrived daily, eager to study the precursor-human connection. Abigail stood in the newly built conference room, looking out at the massive gathering. Representatives from 23 different spacefaring civilizations filled the room. Some she recognized: the reptilian Draconians, the aquatic Thalassians in their water suits, the crystalline Zentari. Others were species she had never met before. "Nervous?" asked Sam, standing beside her. "A little," she admitted. "I never thought I'd be hosting the most important scientific conference in galactic history." The room quieted as Abigail stepped up to the speaker's platform. Hundreds of alien eyes of all different shapes and colors turned to watch her. "Welcome to Orbital Repair Station 47, she began. Or as the Galactic Council now calls it, the Precursor Research Center. 2 months ago, we discovered evidence of a genetic link between humans and the precursors. Since then, more evidence has emerged that we cannot ignore." She nodded to Alan, who activated the room's holographic display. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared, with red dots scattered across it. "These red points show where precursor defense systems have activated in the past 2 months, Abigail explained. "In every case, they have attacked ships with biological technology, but ignored human vessels. At the same time, humans have continued to demonstrate unusual abilities to understand, repair, and improve technologies from all species." The Valerian high scientist stood up. His skin glowed with shifting blue patterns as he spoke. "Let us speak plainly," he said. "There is something unique about humans that cannot be explained by normal evolution." "The evidence supports this," agreed a silver-skinned Meridian scholar. "Humans have shown they can intuitively understand and repair technologies that took other species thousands of years to develop." Rebecca stepped forward. Over the past weeks, she had become the lead researcher on the precursor artifact. Her team had made several more breakthroughs. "We've activated more functions in the precursor device," she said. "It's not just a star map. It contains historical records spanning over 100,000 years. She pressed a control, and the holographic display changed to show the double helix pattern of DNA. But more importantly, we found this genetic code embedded in the device's recognition systems. It shares a 97.3% similarity with human DNA. The match is too close to be coincidence. Murmurs spread through the crowd of aliens. Some seemed excited, others worried. A very old draconian rose from his seat. His scales were dull with age and his movements slow. The room fell silent. Everyone knew that draconians rarely shared their historical knowledge. Our oldest stories speak of the precursors not as one species but as engineers of life, the elder said, his voice rough like gravel. They traveled across the galaxy, planting the seeds of life on many worlds. Most planets they left alone, to develop naturally. But one world they visited more often than others, a blue planet orbiting a yellow star. All eyes turned to Abigail and the other humans in the room. We believe the precursors saw something special in early human ancestors. The elder continued. They helped your species develop faster, especially your ability to understand how things work. Then, facing some great danger, the precursors disappeared, perhaps hoping humans would one day continue their work. Sam leaned over and whispered to Abigail, "That's a nice story, but it's still just a theory." Yet as Abigail looked around at the gathered representatives of ancient civilizations, all coming to humans for help with their most advanced technologies, she wondered if the theory might be true. After the conference ended, more ships arrived daily. The Galactic Council officially recognized Earth as a major power, despite its youth. Human repair experts became the most sought-after specialists in the galaxy. A month later, Abigail sat in her office reviewing reports when Alan called her on the communicator. "Commander, we've got an emergency. Another precursor defense system, just activated, this time near the Zentari homeworld, but it's different from the others." "Different how?" she asked. "It's much larger, and it's not just attacking ships. It's headed toward their main colony." Within hours, the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. The large Zentari colony with over 10 million inhabitants was in danger. The defense system, a massive automated station nearly the size of a small moon, was moving directly toward them, destroying any ship that tried to stop it. "We need to send a human ship," the Zentari ambassador insisted. "The defense system might recognize humans and stop its attack." All eyes turned to Abigail. "The swift solution is ready," she said. "I'll take a team immediately." "This is too dangerous," objected the Galactic Council leader. "We can't risk human lives on a theory. If we're really connected to the precursors, then this is our responsibility," Abigail replied firmly. "We can't stand by while millions die." 24 hours later, the swift solution approached the massive precursor station. It was beautiful. In a terrifying way, a dark metal sphere surrounded by rotating rings with strange energy patterns flowing across its surface. "It hasn't fired on us yet," Rebecca noted from her sensor station. "That's a good sign." As they moved closer, the station suddenly emitted a bright scan beam that swept over their ship. "It's scanning us," Peter said nervously. A moment later, a communication channel opened automatically. Strange symbols flowed across their screen, rapidly changing until they formed English words. "Genetic identification confirmed. Precursor protocols activated, awaiting instructions." Abigail and her crew stared at the screen in shock. "It recognizes us," Rebecca whispered. "It's waiting for our orders." Abigail thought carefully before speaking. "Stop your attack on the Zentari colony. Power down your weapons." The response came immediately. "Compliance. Defense protocols deactivated." In that moment, everything changed. The precursor station not only stopped its attack, but opened its database to the humans. Inside was the collected knowledge of the precursors, the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever known. Over the next year, humans learned the truth. The precursors hadn't vanished, they had evolved beyond physical form. Before leaving, they had indeed altered early humans, seeing in them the potential to one day inherit their role as problem solvers and caretakers of the galaxy. 5 years after the Swift Solutions encounter with the precursor station, human, repair stations existed in every major star system. The knowledge from the precursor database had been shared with all species, bringing a new era of peace and technological advancement. Abigail, now Admiral Mason and Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, stood in the observation deck of the newest and largest human station. It orbited Earth, a shining ring visible from the planet's surface. Gary Carter joined her, now retired from active repair work but still serving as an advisor. "Who would have thought," he said with a grin. "All those years fixing alien ships, and it turns out we were the galaxy's mechanics by design." Abigail smiled as she watched ships from dozens of worlds docking at the station. "I don't think it matters whether we were created for this or just evolved this way naturally. What matters is what we do with our abilities." A young human technician hurried past them, tools in hand, heading to fix something on a Zentari cruiser. The circle was complete. Humans had found their place in the galaxy not through war or conquest, but by doing what they did best, solving problems and fixing what was broken. And as ships from across the stars continued to seek out human expertise, the message was clear. When it comes to making things work, no one does it better than humans. The end.